What's up, guys? So this is going to be the video for the New York secret puzzle. If you guys remember watching an Expedition Unknown, Josh Gates was actually in New York and he got to meet Byron's two daughters. What they did was he took the ferry from Battery Park over to Ellis Island, or the Statue of Liberty, then to Ellis Island, where they got to see that Byron Price's family actually immigrated through Ellis Island. Something interesting that the daughter said was that he told his daughters that from where the cask is buried, you could see a lot of the things in the pictures. And that's not just in this puzzle, it's a common theme throughout the puzzles. Wherever it's buried, you're going to be able to see some, if not all, of the things in the picture. So we want to keep that in mind because that's important. But it's kind of funny that Josh Gates came directly from Battery Park, because that's where we're going to be focused on. And kind of looked like Byron's daughters had like a mischievous look when they looked at the camera, like they were giving away too much information. But we're just going to work with it. So let's get started and see what we can find. The first clue is in the shadow of the gray giant. Well, the gray giant most certainly refers to the Statue of Liberty. Even though the color is kind of a greenish hue, you can see that, the face kind of looks like the Statue of Liberty. And that's the only giant, I would say, that's anywhere in the New York area, aside from all the skyscrapers right there. The New York Giants aren't there no more. They're in San Francisco. So we'll be talking about that later too. So just keep an eye out, keep an ear open. But so we'll start here at the Statue of Liberty. And we will just star this place. Next it says, find the arm that extends over the slender path. So this is something that seems to really get to some people. They can't really figure out what it means, the arm that extends over the slender path. People are thinking really small here. And actually, we need to start thinking a little bigger. So if we were to zoom out and take a look at New York, the island of Manhattan right here, this kind of looks like an arm hanging down the side right here. What I believe it means is that all we're really trying to do is connect from the Statue of Liberty back to the island of Manhattan. So we're just going back to the island because this would be our arm right here. It's right in the middle of the two rivers right here. I believe this is, we have the East River on this side and the Hudson River on this side. So, yeah, this is the arm right between the slender path, the path of the river. This is our arm. The next clue says, in the summer, you'll often hear a whirring sound. What is a whirring sound? Well, if you ever heard a helicopter, it kind of makes a whirring sound, and it just so happens that if we zoom in here, we actually have a helipad right here. And, I've never really seen a helipad out on the water before. I've seen helicopters land on top of buildings, but never in an area like this. So that's pretty cool to me. And this would be our whirring sound. And if we were to take a look at Saker Aviation, there's a specific picture that I want you to take a look at. We have a bird right here above the Saker Aviation Services sign. And if we were to look over at our picture, we have a bird very similar to that. You can see the wing is similar. However, there's a secondary wing right here. The beak may be pointed up, but we have a bird that's very similar, very similar. So that's what I believe that the point is right there. The helicopter area, Saker Aviation, where all the helicopters take off from. The next clue is cars abound. Well, we just came from the New Orleans puzzle, and in there it's talking about jewels abound. Here it says cars abound, which is a little different, but if you guys remember in San Francisco, it also says about Highway 1 running north, but first a cross. This is kind of similar to what I think it means. And what A-bound would mean is if you follow FDR Drive around, it kind of looks like an A. So if we turn on the traffic and we look at the FDR, you can see it kind of travels in and around, kind of creating the illusion of an A. If you guys remember the old Adobe Acrobat, this is their A right there. I would say it's kind of similar, but not quite the same. But that's what I believe what it means when it says cars abound, they're A-bound. And also, if we take a look over here on our picture, if you guys take a look just at the woman's hairline, this looks like an A. So if you just go around, that looks like a lowercase a to me. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that the next point is right here. So coming down. The next clue is, although the sign nearby speaks of Indies native, the natives still speak of him of hard word in 3 volumes. So we're looking for a sign nearby that would talk about some native guys, Indie natives. And there's tons of things that you could see in this battery park. But one that stood out to me was this monument right here, the Walloon Settlers Monument. And if you want to take a look, you can read, it says, presented to the city of New York by the Council Provincial du Hainaut in memory of the Walloon settlers who came over to America in the New Nederland under the inspiration of Jesse de Forest of Avesnes, then county of Hainaut, one of the 17 provinces. And on the bottom, it's dated 1624 to 1924. So this was probably a placard or a monument they put up in the year 1924 to commemorate the 300th or the anniversary of the Walloon settlers. And if these guys have been around since 1624, that's 400 years ago. So, that's a long time ago. But the next clue, well, first let's bookmark our little Walloon settler. Start place. One thing I will say is there's another placard really close by about Peter Cesar Alberti, and this plaque just commemorates an individual. And just zooming in, we can kind of see that this is talking about the first Italian to arrive in New Amsterdam back in June 2nd, 1635. 1635 is 11 years after the Walloon settlers, so we are going to say that the Walloon settlers were obviously here first, so that's why we're going to use that placard. So that's going to be our sign about the Indies native. But the next clue, the natives still speak of him of hard word in 3 volumes. So if these guys are talking about somebody who came before them, we're obviously looking for somebody older than 1624. And if we zoom in, there's actually going to be a statue here of a gentleman named Giovanni de Verrazzano. And if we pull up a little information on Giovanni de Verrazzano, we could see that he was an Italian from Florence, and he did a lot of expeditions in service of the King of France, King Francis I of France. So he did a lot of exploration. When he was over here, he explored the Atlantic coast, North America, between Florida and New Brunswick, from New York Bay and Narragansett Bay. And just one more interesting note about him, he also made numerous voyages to the Eastern Mediterranean, which that area is basically Israel and Egypt and Turkey area. So he was in kind of the Holy Land area, which is kind of interesting considering that he's the guy doing most of the exploring for the King of France in America, that he would be out there in the Eastern Mediterranean. But we'll keep an eye on that. So what we want to do now is put boots on the ground and just take a look at this statue right here. And here we are. We have a picture from April 2021. We can see that there's a statue of Verrazzano, and right below him we have this, whether you want to call her a goddess or some kind of divine being, I would say, who has a torch in one arm and a sword in another, kind of reminiscent of the picture right here, except for obviously in her right hand she's holding nothing, and in her left hand she's holding a flower. But you could see that the clothing, while not spot on perfectly, is similar. Unfortunately, this picture is a little dark, but I would say that this is very close to the body, so what we're looking for. So it sounds like we're going in the right direction if we were checking at Verrazzano's statue right there. Also, when we look on the side of the monument, you can see a quote here from John Fiske. There can be no doubt whatever as to Verrazano's entering New York Harbor in 1524. So 1524, and the Walloons were over there in 1624. So this guy Verrazano was here a cool 100 years before anybody else exploring. So this sounds like a guy that the Walloons would have talked about. And not far away, there's actually a bridge, the Verrazano Bridge. Wanted to point that out, but let's see if there's other markings. So we know that one side is in English. This says right here, Anno 1909. So this is either in Latin or something. Unfortunately, we don't have a great view of this, but it appears to be in another language. And over here on the other side, it looks like we have a passage in Italian. So, Italio Americano Carlo Barsotti, editore La Colonia Italiana Concord, yada, 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 October of the year. So, we have here on the Giovanni Verrazzano statue on his monument, we have words carved into this monument in 3 different languages. So, if the clue is the natives still speak of him of hard word in 3 volumes, well, we have 3 different languages, 3 different volumes you would usually have if you were speaking English, Italian, or Latin. So those are the 3 different volumes you would have, different languages. And this guy was here in 100 years before the Walloons, so they would have heard of him and they would have talked about him. Next, it says, take twice as many east steps as the hour. So if we were here on our picture looking at the time, it says 11 o'clock here. And if we double the time on the clock, 11, double that, 22, going east, here the Verrazzano statue is facing north. If we were to go east 22 steps, let's see where it would take us. I believe it would take us somewhere out to right about here. That looks like about 20 steps. 22 steps. And what is the next clue? It says, take twice as many steps east as the hour or more. Then from the middle of one branch of the V, look down and see simple roots in rhapsodic man's soil, or gaze north towards the Isle of B. So we took twice as many steps. Now we're looking for a V in a branch of a tree. And it just so happens, if we zoom in right here, we could see what appears to be a V right here. And if we were to look down over here and see simple roots in rhapsodic man's soil, so if we were to look right there, that would kind of be the point I think that they're talking about. So if we were to line it up on the picture, if you look at this woman's robe right here, it kind of has the outline of a tree, and this main fold is kind of like, kind of like the trunk right here. So knowing that, it appears that we're just right there already. Oops. So we'd be going straight down, and that's where the gem is placed. So that's where we would want to dig. This one wasn't so bad, it seems like. Oh, we forgot the first part. In the shadow of the great giant, the shadow is right about here. Find the arm that extends over the slender path. So, here's the shadow arm, and we're just along the side of the Isle of Manhattan. So, if we are going to dig, I would say dig right here in Battery Park, just to the side of the Giovanni Verrazzano statue. And if we were to look north, it says, or gaze north towards the Isle of B. Well, what is that? We have the Battery right here. And we have Battery Street. I guess this area is called the Battery. That's what I think it is. I don't think it's the Isle of Brooklyn. Brooklyn would be to the south. But if you were digging, maybe you'd be looking towards the Isle of Brooklyn. But for what it is, this is where we're going to want to dig. Next, we're going to pull up Map and Paint and see if we can do something similar. And it says, from the start in the statue of the great giant, find the arm that extends. Well, if this aisle is the aisle that extends and we're going to New York, the Statue of Liberty, we have a 1. And then if we were to just use a smaller brush, talking about the Manhattan helicopter, we'd start from the Manhattan helicopters, go towards the A-bound area, which is where the Walloon Settlers Monument is, then over to the Giovanni di Verrazzano statue, and then we would move just over slightly, about 22 paces, and dig at the foot of that tree. So we have a 1 here and a 1 here, so we have our 11. Next, let's see if we could find the numbers on the fair person, and there's only one person in the picture, not including the bird, so let's see what we could find. And we'll just say, for the sake of argument, that the arms, 1, and then here this is a little bit more of a curved 1, kind of similar. So all in all, we have an 11 on the map, an 11 on the picture, and the fair person does make a bit of a 1. Two separate looking 1s, but they're both there. If you wanted to say maybe in the sleeves of her gown or something, I mean, you could always say that. But we're just trying to make our 11, and we found that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're going to be doing Montreal next. Talk to you then.